In this video, I'm going to explain why the World Economic Forum's Great Reset plan is a busted flush. And essentially, the main reason is that they've just run out of time. They had an idea about what they wanted to do and why they wanted to do it, but they've just run out of time. A lot of people naively think that the Great Reset was about stopping climate change and net zero and all of that jazz. But the real explanation is a lot more simple than that. Imagine you being a dictator. What you want more than anything else is control. So imagine a monetary system where you know what every single pound has been spent on. You also know which people in society have made that spending. You also know when the spending took place. And on top of that, you also know where the spending took place, in which shop it took place. That gives you an awful lot of power over the population to create a totalitarian state where the population are in fear of the government. But there's another reason. If you cast your mind back to March 2020, they seem to be in a massive rush to get this Great Reset done, because they also knew that the current financial system was done and dusted, and the reason for that was debt, basically. If you look at the British economy, there's not a lot of productive activity going on. There's a lot of retailing of imports, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of miscellaneous bureaucracy. That's what the UK produces. And so when households want to purchase products, they're purchasing imports, they're getting into debt to do it. A lot of that debt was collateralized by an absolutely huge housing bubble. On top of that, the government was also borrowing too to finance government spending that they weren't capable of financing through the tax system. So we're now in Britain, we've actually reached the end of the road, that basically whatever they do now, they can't raise interest rates, because even a small rise in interest rates will absolutely destroy most households. And it's just the simple maths of it. If you had a mortgage that was at 4% and it's gone up to 5%, that's a 25% increase in your monthly expenditure on mortgage interest. And just a lot of households, they just can't make that. And if you want to calm inflation down, you're going to have to put interest rates up a lot more than that. If the Bank of England's obviously reluctant to do that, and you can see what the other side of the dilemma is that if they refuse to raise interest rates, foreigners will just dump sterling. They'll just keep on dumping it. So the pound will keep on falling. And as a result of a weaker pound, everything that we import becomes more expensive. You can see that with energy, and basically what that means is that you end up with a massive deflationary depression, because if people are spending 80% of their income or 90% of their income on energy and food and other essentials, then that's the UK's retail economy, leisure economy down the Swanee, game over. So at the moment, it does look like they've actually reached the end of the road. In 2008, they were able to build one last credit bubble by cutting interest rates close to zero, so the debt zombies could embark on one last round of borrowing and spending. So basically, the globalists, they wanted a digital ID in place at this time. And they've got nowhere near achieving that. And so this is why I'm very, very optimistic in some ways that this Great Reset is done and dusted, basically, because they're not going to be able to seamlessly transition into their central bank digital currencies, because they're nowhere near ready rolling them out, because they haven't got the digital IDs. People haven't bought into it. They wanted it via the Nazi passport, and people basically said, sod off, we ain't doing it. So essentially they're out of time, and this is why the reset is they're not going to achieve it. And the other problem that they've got is that more and more people now are waking up. If you look at the Britney Spears and the boosters, the take-up is declining with each round with each concert tour, let's call it. So there's absolutely no way that you can only keep people in a fear state for a certain amount of time. and that time expired about February time this year, February 2022. So you know, they've tried to pivot over towards this so-called conflict in the Ukraine, and you know, this being this thing with the pipeline and stuff. So I think this is their sort of backup plan, basically, is that when those bills, the heating bills and the energy bills, and people face being repossessed, I can see in particular the British people becoming very, very, very angry. And as a Christian, I don't believe in violence, and I would never take part in violence myself, because I don't think it solves anything. But you know, I can see people have been talking a lot about Mussolini. Well, you know, if you look at how Mussolini died, well, I can see maybe some more of those sorts of events where the people they realised that they were deceived. You know, the people that took the Britney Spears in particular, the people that got repossessed. These people are all going to turn on local politicians, and they haven't got this control grid in place in time. You know, that boat has sailed a long time ago. So as Gerald Celente says, when all else fails, they take you to war. And I think that's the only thing that they've got left now, is a massive distraction in the form of war. But you know, certainly I think that the good news is that this digital control grid, it ain't gonna happen, because I keep on saying this, but it's true, they've run out of time. The economy has collapsed, basically. It's going to take a little bit of time for the effects of that collapse to show through, but the collapse basically has already happened. We've already hit debt saturation point, and there's no way out. You know, if as I say, if they put interest rates up, that will crash the economy even more. If they keep them where they are, then it will crash the economy through inflation, through a hyperinflationary depression. So they've run out of time, and that's really, really good news. The bad news, I guess, is they'll need some sort of distraction. They'll go into self-preservation mode, and you know, war with Russia is probably their best bet. So I've not heard on the BBC yet whether they found a Russian passport floating in the Baltic Sea above this busted up pipeline, but I guess it's only a matter of time. Anyway, that's all that I want to say today, and it's nice and sunny here. Probably got a bit too many clothes on, but there's a bit of a cold wind here, and God bless you all.